Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Alex is dancing already. Never a good sign. Welcome to another wonderful edition of Coast to Coast College Football Pregame Show. We are on episode number 13 of season number 2. We are in the midst of, right in the thick of college football season. Best time of year. Weather is finally breaking. There's orange leaves everywhere. If you're a college football fan, you got to love it. Helping me keep this soul train on the tracks this morning, as always, the top left, my Buckeye brother from another mother, Mr. Cottrell Simpson. How are you, sir?
Hey, I can't complain today, man. I can't complain. Got a nice battle this week. Nice warm up kind of game to the big one next week. So, I can't complain too much. Can't complain.
Well, that's good to hear. Like when everybody's in a good mood. It's certainly last but not least, in the upper right-hand corner, Mr. West Coast, Mr. Eye Black, Mr. Super Fan of the number one ranked Oregon Ducks, Alex Elmore. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. I realized I just did the hashtag and then 2 number ones, which makes it look like number 11. So if you live under a rock, the Ducks are not number 11. They are number 1, which is as they are.
Finish. It's fine.
Which as they are in my heart. That's fine. Cottrell's over there complaining about next week's the big one. It's easy to lick your wounds after the actual big one was a couple weeks ago and you caught that L. But that's okay. It's good to be here. Another beautiful day of college football. The Ducks have another big game today as well. I'm excited to kind of get into the previews. A lot of the slate today is sneaky good, possibly better than last week. So I'm excited to kind of get into those games. But thanks for having me as always. And Ducks are number 1, baby. What? Like, I'm not dreaming here, right? I'm gonna pinch myself. Nope, I'm awake. This is amazing.
I want to touch on something you just said, which we've been very lucky. We are on week 3 now of just absolutely full, incredible slates of games. College football has absolutely delivered so far this year. There's a lot left. There's been surprises. And we're going to go over the Boise State game from last night, which was a very good football game. Army and Navy undefeated, both 6-0 for the first time since 1926. Navy has a huge game today. A lot of people think Notre Dame's on upset alert. We'll get into that. Get into the chat real quick. Justin Louder, by far our number 1 fan. Always here at the beginning. I'm feeling better, yes. I'm on the back end of it. I still feel a little bit congested, but I'm definitely better than I was last. Last weekend was a struggle for me. And then, obviously, Gene Walzak is in the chat this morning, and we will start the show by wishing him a happy birthday before we forget and we get yelled at and scolded. I don't want to do any of that. But Gene is down in Atlantic City, I believe, wagering and having debaucherous fun. So I hope he's winning, and I hope he's having a good time and enjoying his birthday. So happy birthday, sir. Thank you for tuning in anyway during your birthday day.
Gene, put $10 on black for me, okay? On black 8. Black 8 on roulette. Put it on there for me. You'll win some money. Oh, Gene is home. Gene is home. That's a good thing or a bad thing? Either he cleaned them out and he was like, I'm getting out of here before they stop me, or
we just haven't. He's like, you haven't caught him yet.
I say there he is. He's going next weekend.
Actually, right. Okay. Well, remember, black 8 roulette, $10. You'll be happy.
There you go. All right, but we do want to try to finish on time today, and we do have a lot of recaps from last week. And again, we will full slate this week, so let's hop into it. Alex, breaking the huddle, headlines, roll with it. Let's go.
Yes, quick, easy, and simple. A lot of good news today. The main piece of news today, the NCAA, which that's actually incorrect. It's actually the SEC, so that's my bad. SEC fines Texas $250,000 for throwing garbage onto the field after last week's pass interference call against Georgia. Texas actually went a step further and used video footage to identify students in the stands that were participating in this action, and then proceeded to send them all a text message prohibiting their ability to go to any sporting events the rest of the academic calendar year. And it was funny. I saw someone responded back that said, "I'm gonna get in anyway." Like it was pretty funny. But I mean, there's a couple things to unpack here. I mean, 1, the fine. 2, Texas, eliminating some of these students being able to get into sporting events. And of course, you got the actual event of trash being thrown on the field and then the refs changing a call. I mean, this whole situation is just a big old cluster. What do you guys think of it so far? How about we start with you, Bill?
All right. Well, first off, the fact that you put NCAA is funny because they don't do anything that they're supposed to do. So
I swear to you, as soon as he said, he's like, I meant to say SEC. I was like, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Exactly. No surprise at all. So that's fine. All right. Listen, I think. I mean, I've been, and I'm sure Kachuk or Alex, you've probably been in games like this too. You're highly ranked. You're expecting to win. I mean, we're gonna get into the game later. Texas just didn't play well. All right. The call was the call. I think we could probably all agree it wasn't great. And then you reversal, you have all that stuff. Here's the bottom line. I don't care how upset you are. I don't care. I've been in games where I've been absolutely pissed off, have it be, Phillies games, Eagle games, Michigan games, whatever. You can't start throwing trash on the field. You can't start throwing bottles at people, at players, at referees. It's just unacceptable. Texas embarrassed themselves last week. So you want to be a blue blood and you want to be a pillar of college football, which they are. You have to act better. I know you're number one. I know you didn't want to lose. This was a huge game. I get all of that. But as a student body section, you absolutely embarrass yourselves. You can't start to, school, $250,000, whatever. That's like picking 3 pennies out of a couch for Texas. Honestly, like they don't care. Whatever. They're going to write the check and it's going to be done. But at the same time, this almost to some degree kind of like the end of this game overshadowed everything else that happened in the game. If you watch SportsCenter, this is what they led with, the end of the game and so forth and so on. So Texas embarrassed themselves. I hope they bring measures and try to prevent it from happening in the future. But I'll also tell you this: Texas is one of the stadiums that sells alcohol. This is the easiest way for you guys not to be able to get alcohol during a game anymore because that'll be the first thing that'll go. So be better. Stop being sore losers. You have one loss, you're fine. Win the rest of your games and make the college football playoff. And other than that, I think that's pretty much it for me.
Where I stand is easy. I feel like I am a expert on the matter of throwing things onto the field after the infamous Bottlegate.
I was gonna say, are you admitting to something here that we don't know about?
Right, that's what I was laughing about.
No. Bottlegate happened in Cleveland. I mean, that's the big one there. And rightfully so. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't have been there throwing stuff on the field, but if I was absolutely hammered and they let somebody basically challenge a play that happened 2 plays before, then I would have been in the same boat there. However, with all of that said, Texas, you can't react this way. And I'm actually agreeing with you. I think it was a bad call.
It was a bad call.
I don't think you need to. That shouldn't have been pass interference. Interception should have happened there anyway. But with that said, Texas, you got your way in the end. The refs reversed it, which I mean
that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
That's an awful precedent moving forward because then the next time anything bad happens, they're gonna be like, hey, well, I mean, it's a big game. Maybe I won't be able to see any other games the rest of the year. But if this changes the course of the play, maybe it's worth it. If it's the SEC championship game or, Michigan, Ohio State, and we're on that last drive and a bad call happens and I'm at Ohio State, hey, let's just throw all our shit on the field, see if they change the call. And if they do, and I'm out for the rest of the year, so be it. I help my team win a big football game.
All right, Connor Stallions.
Two things has come out of this. First off, Cottrell is okay with things being thrown on the field, even though he's saying otherwise. And secondly, if you ever have season tickets to a sporting event, don't take Cottrell because he's going to throw things on the field and get you banned for each game.
Hey,
but he sounds like Connor Stallions. I'll do whatever it takes to help my team win.
Hey, there's no sanctions gonna happen for throwing shit on the field. Apparently, the NCAA doesn't care. So
apparently not.
So
did you see about anything?
Did you guys see what Vanderbilt did? Vanderbilt put up a net in front of the Texas visiting fan section just in case.
That's hilarious.
Like that's ultimate trolling. Yes, for today's game, to put up a net in front of the Texas fan section just for safety reasons.
That is well done. That's funny.
But, at the end of the day, though, obviously, bad luck by Texas. This definitely can't happen. And I think the obvious part is Texas fans shouldn't have done it. And the obvious part is they deserve to get fined, and the kids that got caught, they deserve to be suspended. I think the bigger issue is that the NCAA, and granted, we always say that they don't do anything, but they haven't come out and talked at all about the refs that ultimately ended up changing that call. Because again, like we were just talking about, that sets a crazy, awful precedent moving forward. And again, I think it was a bad call. You almost never have a call actually happen like that. Maybe they throw the flag, they get together, and then they say no pass interference. But you don't actually get the ref come on the mic and say, hey, defensive pass interference. And then afterwards, they talk together and say, no, actually, there wasn't a flag on the play there. Clearly, it was a direct reaction to what was being thrown on the field there. And I think that's very dangerous moving forward. The fine to Texas, they bring in $200 million a year. I mean, 250,000 is nothing to them in the bigger picture there. And I think the NCAA needs to figure out like this moving forward. I mean, this is a dangerous time. You have kids on the field, you're throwing things at them. I get a lot of this plastic and stuff like that, but I mean, this just very, very dangerous thing to set here. And the NCAA was quick to react to the whole Dan Lanning 12 men on the field. This is something that is way more pressing in terms of player safety, the integrity of the game. I think the NCAA needs to step in and, hey, if this kind of stuff happens, this is what we already have in place to prevent it from happening in the future. Or if it does happen in the future, this is what's going to happen. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no waiting for the conference to react, or there's no gray line. This is the direct punishment for that happening, whether it be a 15-yard unnecessary, unsportsmanlike conduct against like that home team there. And I know like that would suck for the players, but like,
well, that happened a couple
that
weeks
would
ago,
deter
right?
it from happening.
Didn't they?
It's happened before.
It's happened a couple weeks ago. Like if your fans don't stop and do whatever they were doing, like they were going to get a 15-yard penalty, and the coach got on the mic and said, "Yo, knock it off."
Exactly.
And we've seen it in basketball games before. Same thing. Like they'll call technical fouls, or they'll take your teams off the court till it stops. I mean they got to do something about it, and which is the reason why they won't. So because they suck.
Well, do we have anything else we want to say on this topic before we go into a couple other smaller little tidbits for the week?
No, like I said, I'm not taking Coke bottle control to any games. That's all. I'm good.
Hey.
Facts. I'm definitely not taking you to Austin, bro. You get me banned for a whole year, I swear. I'll be so mad.
All the in Austin.
All the text messages that were getting screenshot and put up on Twitter were hilarious, though.
They were
funny. Yeah, they were really funny. And the problem is with a stadium that big too.
It's impossible.
It is. Yeah, they're going to get in. They are. They're 100%. Some of those kids here to get in.
All they got to do is their student tickets may not be there anymore. All they got to do is buy an aftermarket ticket, and I mean nobody checks IDs at the gate. They're like, "Oh, you got a ticket? Okay, you can go in."
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to continue on this news journey that we're on this morning, and we're going to go over to the Pac-12. Right now, Oregon State and Washington State are the only two members of the Pac-12 until 2026. And next year, in order to strengthen their strength of schedule while their conference is in limbo, Oregon State and Washington State have agreed to a home-and-home matchup next season. They will be playing twice next year, with the home game for Oregon State being on November 1st and November 29th being at Washington State. This has been for everyone who's not familiar with this. This has been done in the past, as recently as 2018 and 2019. Liberty and New Mexico State, when they were both independents, were trying to fill their schedule. They played home and home arrangements in 2018 and 2019. They're now members of Conference USA, so they don't have that issue. But this has been done before recently, just not very often. But what's your guys' opinion of this? Is this good for the Pac-12? Is this weird? I don't know how I feel about it.
I'll go first just because I have a strong opinion on it. This is stupid. I mean, you have all the resources in the world to play other schools, and I get it. Games get filled up and things like that. But I mean, you've seen how many games actually happened last minute. Like Ohio State had Washington this year scheduled as their non-conference game. Washington decided to join the Big Ten, so it's like, hey, we got to figure out another non-conference game, and I think it ultimately ended up being Marshall. And I get it. Marshall's not a great school, and you're talking about your strength of schedule and things like that. But the reality of the situation is that playing each other once or playing each other twice, I should say, that's not going to strengthen your strength of schedule. If one of these schools suck, which I mean we've basically been seeing this year, neither of them are going to be great schools. What's the point of playing each other to boost this strength of schedule? It's not like you're going to go from a rank 45 FPI like schedule ranking to top 10 or anything like that. Like it's going to be such a small increase there in terms of like what that schedule ranking would look like. Go play another school that's close. Go schedule a school in the Mountain West or schedule a non-conference game with Cal. Like you can figure out something to add to your non-conference schedule here. I think this was really just like a kind of a cop-out, lazy way to just say, hey, we don't want to do too much traveling. We don't want to spend too much money. We know the Pac-12 doesn't really exist. Neither of these schools really matter too much. Let's keep it simple. Schedule them twice, and, we'll go from there.
All right. So I agree with parts of what you said. On the other hand, though, I think this is kind of, you brought up like the whole Ohio State-Washington thing. And then, we originally had a home with them scheduled as well, kind of like alternate years that you guys did. And that got canceled because obviously they were joining the Big Ten. I think, we've talked about this before. I think this is kind of one of the things that trickle down that you're going to see less of because there's no incentive for anybody from the SEC or the Big Ten to schedule these teams anymore. Adding the extra conference game with the conferences being tougher now. They're like Michigan doesn't want to fly to Washington State. Ohio State doesn't want to fly to Washington State now. Like there's no reason for it. It's just an extra trip out to the West Coast. It's not really going to boost. It's not going to do anything for their overall strength of schedule probably at the end of the year because they're both very mid-tier teams. It's not worth the travel or the risk of getting somebody hurt. And I think they were both just in a spot where they're both going to try to help each other out and schedule a home and home for the 1 year and fill out their schedule. I don't think, I've seen a lot of people talk about this, be like, teams should do it more because it's like basketball. That part I disagree with. I wouldn't want Michigan and Ohio State to play twice every year. It would take away from that last Saturday of the season every year. You get the one-off game. And everybody brings up Duke, North Carolina, and I get that. But I think football is different than basketball. I think teams playing each other twice in the same year, scheduled that way to make sure it would definitely happen. I don't think it's the same thing as college basketball. I think the best part about college football rivalries is that they only play once a year. So your team either wins and you get a whole year to talk about it, or you lose and you got to wait till next year. That is the special part about football, which I love. So. I don't. It's great, and obviously the Duke North Carolina rivalry is one of the best rivalries in all sports. But I don't think college basketball and college football are the same. So that comparison, I don't buy into. In regards to them just kind of doing what they had to do, I don't hate it. I don't love it by any means, but I understand it at the same time. They had to do what they had to do. The only thing I would like to see, if people are going to do this, it's kind of like hockey. Like play back-to-back weeks then. Like I want like the hatred and like all like the trash talking build up. Like if you're coming, if I got to go to your school November 1st and November 8th, you got to come back to my school. Like make them play back-to-back weeks then. That's what would make it fun for me. A couple weeks in between and cool off. I don't like it. But overall, I get it. I don't have a strong opinion on it really either way though.
But Bill, to your point though, you talked about like it not making sense for a team like Ohio State to travel to the West Coast. Well, yeah, you're right, because that won't add anything to their strength of schedule. But if you're a team like Oregon State or Washington State and your sole purpose is to boost that strength of schedule, you're the one that's in this predicament. You would have to go play. You'd have to go somewhere to play a better team. Like you would have to play them on their home field because the other team would have no benefit in playing you. So why not try and say, hey, Michigan, Ohio State, we know you guys have holes in your schedule now because of the new conference realignment and stuff like that. Can we come to Columbus? Can we come to Ann Arbor? Can we come to Autzen to play a non-conference game? in September because we want to boost our strength of schedule. And we'll come to you guys, and you guys have a hole to fill. Like, in my mind, if your whole purpose and like the reasoning that you're doing this is to strengthen the schedule, why not reach out to a team that actually would help you actually strengthen that schedule?
I'll tell you why. Because neither one of these teams are competing for anything big. So
why are you boosting your schedule?
You still want to get bowl eligible and boost your strength of schedule. So you still want to be you're not going to take a game with Ohio State and know you're going to go in there and get beat by 24. So, yeah, your strength of schedule might go up 3 points, but you're taking a guaranteed loss. I think their point is, okay, maybe we both split. We both help each other get to 6-6, get a bowl game, get a nice check for the school. Everybody's happy at the end of the year. Versus, oh, crap, now we're, if we didn't have that Ohio State or we didn't have that Oregon loss at the beginning of the year, now we're 5-7. Now we're not going bowling. Cool, our strength of schedule went up a little bit, but we're not going to go to a bowl game. So that, in my opinion, that's part of it. They're not going to go knock on Alabama's door to take a guaranteed L. It doesn't make any sense for them. Because this isn't Central Michigan where Michigan's like, all right, you can come play us. We'll give you $1 million to show up, and so you at least go home. It's not going to affect you because you're back school. You're not going to make the college football playoff. You get a strength of schedule boost, and then you go into MAC play, makes your team a little bit better, and you're going to go home with $1 million. Michigan, Ohio State are not paying Oregon State or Washington $1 million or Washington State $1 million to show up. They're Power 5 schools. They're not going to do it. So they're like, hey, if you want to come here and play, we're not going back out there. We're not traveling out there, because that's what both schools are going to say. We're not traveling back out there, and we're not paying you money. So if you want to come show up here and get your asses kicked and take an L, okay. But all the benefits at that point fall on Michigan, Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama, whoever they play. You're gonna get a strength of schedule boost playing a Power 5 team instead of a MAC team, and you're gonna keep all your money and you're gonna get a W. So I think there's more downside for those schools to do it that way. That's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, it's going to happen no matter what we think. But I do think it would have been super easy to, especially like Washington State, Oregon State. They have money. They could definitely pay a school, to come in and not make this happen. So I don't know how I feel about it. But it is what it is. On to other news. Grayson McCall. You probably have heard his name before, as he's been in college for 6 years, and I love football. I love quarterbacks that are in college for longer than 4 years, and you can ask Sean. He'll tell you all about it.
There you
go. We know.
Hey, experience. You can't say enough about experience, my friends. But Grayson McCall started at Coastal Carolina, had a great career there, transferred to North Carolina State this year. On October 5th against Wake Forest, he suffered a concussion. He has just announced this last week that he is going to be retiring from football completely. Due to his injuries. He only played 7 games last year before being knocked out with a head injury as well. After speaking to his parents, doctors, neurologists, people smarter than me around this stuff, he has decided it's best for his career to retire. He is known for over 10,000 yards, 91 touchdowns, only 13 interceptions. Like I said, great career over 6 years. He is retiring and he is going to pursue coaching. So it's kind of a sad loss. And North Carolina State was expecting him to kind of be their leader for the whole season and maybe take him to the promised land somewhere. But how do you guys feel about this? I think Grayson McCall was a great quarterback. It's kind of sucks to see his career end on this note.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you see anybody's career end like this, it sucks. He's a kid that bounced around a little bit. And honestly, I mean, he's a good quarterback. It's tough when you see it. It's tough when you see anybody's career end on a way where they don't really have, I guess you could say, control of it. We've talked about this stuff before. On Wire to Wire and other shows. There's a lot of talk about the whole Tua thing. He's going to play this week. It looks like. I think that's crazy. But it's his body, his choice, and it's just sad. It's the harsh reality when you play a violent sport. People get hurt, and it's part of it. And unfortunately, not everybody gets to kind of write their own ending. You've seen it in all kinds of sports across the whole landscape of sports. So it sucks for him. I think he's a good kid. We're all kind of very familiar with him from where'd he go? Did we go Coastal before?
Yeah, Coastal Carolina. Yep.
Yeah, they had that really good run that year.
2021.
2021. Yeah. So it sucks. I mean, I love his attitude towards it. I think he seems, on the surface anyway, he seems at peace with it, and he thinks it's the best decision for him. I hope he doesn't take like a year or two off and then try to get back into it. It sounds like he wants to get into coaching and stuff like that. So I wish him well. Like I said, I enjoyed watching him. And it just sucks. It's just reality. Unfortunately, it's a reality of playing a contact sport.
Yeah, it definitely sucks for him. Grayson McCall, I had high hopes for him going to NC State as well this year. Like, going into the season, I thought that he could be, a really good vet quarterback for them in an ACC that felt like it was wide open. Before the year, I thought it would be Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and then whoever else wanted to show up to the battle. Clearly didn't work out too well for him to begin with. NC State had been struggling. I think he was 3-2 this year before he ultimately left out with the injury there. You hate to see the career end like this, but for him, I think the decision probably was an easy one at this point. Like Alex said, this will be his 6th year in college football, and yeah, he could have potentially tried to apply for a medical red shirt, but at what cost? Grayson McCall, no, he's not an NFL caliber quarterback, and that's kind of probably why he kept going to school. Because you get more degrees and for free, essentially. At that, you're making good money, probably with the NIL, moving from a school like Coastal Carolina to NC State. And so I just don't know at what point does that risk become worth it for you. So. Like you mentioned as well, Bill, I think it's good that he's really attacking this with the right mindset as well. Already said he wants to get into coaching, and I'm sure Grayson McCall probably has a lot of fans like everywhere that he's been so far. Like the coaching staff at Coastal Carolina, they had to have loved the kid for him being there as long as he was, and then going to NC State, just being the leader for that team. I'm sure he's got some fans of his on that coaching staff as well. So I think he'll be a kid that will no problem land on his feet there as a quarterback. Obviously, you have to have a great football mind, especially playing at this high of a level. So I think he'll be fine there. But ultimately, I think this is by far the best decision for the kid.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And honestly, I think I expect to honestly see him probably on the sidelines the rest of the year, maybe even with a headset on and street clothes, maybe even getting some coaching reps on the team this year. I wouldn't be surprised to see him there. And obviously, the quarterback room will benefit from him still being part of the team. 6 years of experience is nothing to bat your eyes at. But we're going to move on to our last story. And yes, Gene, Kyle McCord had a fantastic game. We may mention that later, but yikes. Heavy travel to blame. We have some recent reports of coaches and players kind of complaining about having to travel, especially in the Big Ten, from West Coast to East Coast to West Coast, vice versa, and also like the overall records of teams that are traveling 2 time zones is very loud as well. Do you guys feel like intense travel this season is really affecting the outcomes of games? As an example, before we jump in, for example, with Lincoln Riley over in USC, 3 out of their 4 losses, they traveled 2 time zones away. He was saying that, their travel plans last week when they went to Maryland, they were having to travel Friday, so they were spending less time in Maryland, and they're having to have less prep time on Friday. Do you think that this the new, and we talked about this last year when the conference realignment was being kind of sorted out, how the travel was kind of really intense for these student athletes. Do you think that this is kind of, last night we had a Rutgers team playing at 2:30 in the morning their time. What's your guys' kind of opinions on that?
Look, at the end of the day, football is football, no matter where you play it, no matter what time you play it. And I get it. The travel strain, especially on kids that have to go to class and things like that, like definitely can play a factor. But the reality of it is that if you need to play, you can play a game. I don't want to hear these excuses now, because later on in the year, kids are going to get teams are going to get bowl eligible. They're going to all have to play in LA or Hawaii or the Bahamas or, who knows what. Like it happens all the time. And it's not just now. I get it. It happens more now because of like the conference realignment and how you have schools scheduled across the country. But Michigan and Washington have played each other plenty times before, like this year. And before Michigan went to Washington, they took care of business. This year, that ultimately didn't happen, but that's not the reason why they lost the game. And I'm sure it'd be the same way, vice versa. If Washington came over here and they played Michigan and they won the game, we wouldn't be having like these types of discussions. I think this is just an easy cop out for coaches, either on the East Coast or West Coast, that feels like their team is underperforming in these games. Because at the end of the day, the better teams are going to win on that field. Alex, you'll know firsthand. I didn't say a word about the travel or going to Autzen as like the reason why they lost the game, because Oregon was a better football team that day. And granted, I could say what I want to about the bad calls, things like that. At the end of the day, you're going to win the football game if you deserve to. If you go out there and you earn it, you're going to win. So I'm not buying into the heavy travel. It's not like these teams are going East Coast, West Coast every other week and things like that. It's only 2-3 times out of the season, if that. Like, Miami went over to California, they won the football game. I know it was a tight one, but they won the football game. So I'm not buying into the heavy travel.
Have you seen USC? I'm sorry, Bill, I know you have something to say. This is USC's schedule, okay? Went to Michigan, lost. Then they had to go back home, first Wisconsin, and then next week back to Minnesota, which they lost. Back home to Penn State, which they lost, and then back to Maryland, which they lost. That is 4 straight weeks of cross-country travel. Not 4 straight weeks, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't see how you can tell me that the travel, because you can't tell me on a neutral field Minnesota is better than USC. You can't tell me on a neutral field Maryland is better than USC. Honestly, on a neutral field, can you tell me Michigan is better than USC? But what do they have in common? USC traveling multiple time zones to play these teams.
But again, though, to that same token, did Penn State not have to travel across the country to go to USC and
they look
pull
like
out a game?
shit? And they look like shit.
But what happened though? They won.
They won.
The reason why it looked like shit wasn't that. I saw Penn State look like shit against Bowling Green, and they're 4 hours apart from each other. So I don't want to hear the whole. They're 4 hours apart driving. As far as a flight goes, that's probably like a 35-minute flight. So I don't want to hear travel being, and I get it. Like, USC is probably not used to this. It is what it is. But your team not being prepared to go out there, if you're better than teams, it doesn't matter where you play them. You're going to win the football game unless you don't come with a great game plan, unless there's injuries. USC has been 100% healthy. There is no excuse. Don't tell me time zone is the reason why you go lose to Maryland. If you're not the better team, you're not the better team.
The team traveling with 2 time zones has like a 250 win percentage. Like
I'll break this down for you even better, because USC is not the good example to use here, and I'll tell you why. The Michigan game was a very good football game. I wouldn't say that they lost that game. Okay. Minnesota, they choked. They were up 10 with 4 minutes to go and lost that football game. And in Maryland, they were up 28-7 at one point and lost the football game. That's not a time. That's not a time zone issue. That's bad football issue. Lincoln Riley can look in the mirror about that one first. And to Cottrell's point, Penn State had to fly out to California. All these other, like, we had to fly out to Washington. Like Cottrell said, that's not the reason we lost the football game. We lost the football game because we had 4 turnovers. If we turn the ball over twice instead of 4 times, we probably win the football game. Listen, I don't want to hear it for this reason, especially as well. The football teams travel better than anybody. And I'll tell you this point blank. You guys do it. Ohio State does it.
Yep.
You get chartered flights. You have your big-ass buses that leave 4 days before you do with all your crap. So you have all your home amenities there. So when you get to the hotel, you take your team buses to the stadium. I said this from the get-go when this happened. The trickle-down effect and the issues with this weren't going to be with the football players, and they're already bitching. The people that are going to pay for this are the people that play soccer, women's soccer, golf. People like that, because guess what? They're not getting on chartered flights. They don't have, school buses. They don't have any of that. So when they go out to the West Coast, they're going to be cramped into vans. They're not staying at 5-star hotels. They're not doing any of that. So when USC, when Oregon, when Washington, and UCLA all jumped at the money, which is exactly what they did, and took all that money, took all the realignment money, took the Big Ten Network money, took the CBS money, and took the Peacock money. This is what you knew you were in for. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it at all. People are flying out to California just as much as those teams are flying out here. You guys have to come to Michigan in a couple weeks. I promise you, if we beat you, it's not because you guys had to fly to Michigan. It's a joke. Lincoln Riley has choked 3 games away. Lincoln Riley could look at himself, look at his coaching staff, and look at his players. Don't blame it on flying. Don't blame it on flying, because next year when he's home and Maryland has to fly to USC, Michigan has to fly to USC, and vice versa, he won't be bitching about it then. He won't be bitching about it when he has 8 home games next year. It's part of it. They all knew it was coming. He's the only one bitching about it. And he's bitching about it because he choked away 3 games. That's a USC problem. That's not a Big Ten problem.
Facts.
All right. Well, again, I was using USC as an example mainly because Lincoln Riley is the one who was quoted with this in this article talking about the travel being an issue.
Yeah, I mean, when you bring in a coach like Lincoln Riley to USC and they have nothing to show for it, they had a Heisman Trophy quarterback. They have a good offense this year. I mean, they beat the LSU team. They should have beat the LSU team. That's ranked like 8th right now in the country. So, I mean,
who was dying?
No clue. But USC, I mean, I think Lincoln's just looking for any excuse for his underachieving team this year.
I agree. And I get that he's frustrated. And listen, here, but again, it all boils back. They want to start treating this like the mini NFL. That's part of it. Like, this is all stuff everybody's gonna have to get used to, and that's just a fact of life. Like, you look at like Rutgers and USC, like they are about as far apart as you could be for any 2 college football teams in the country. Like, it's just a fact. Like, that's what it's gonna be.
It was pretty nuts watching the game at 11:30 and the announcers being like, it's 2:30 a.m. in Rutgers right now. Do you think it's affecting the players? And they thought the Rutgers players played fantastic. They said that there was no dip in energy, no anything. But it's crazy. Like, if your fans want to watch you play like 2:30 in the morning, in my opinion, at the very least, there's got to be some sort of scheduling change where you can't be doing this whole cross-country travel on a Thursday or a Friday night game. Like, you got to do the cross-country travel game.
I wouldn't disagree with you on that. I don't think Rutgers should have to travel to USC and play on a Friday night. Because you're losing legit 2.5 days there. So I'm with you on that. If you're going cross country, you should have to play Saturday. I'm fine with that, and that's something I actually think they should look at. I'll tell you what this is. This was, USC was what, 4-1 after they lost to Michigan.
Yeah.
And they were still. I mean, we did it too. A lot of places did. Like, they were like, all right, like, I think everybody missed the boat on USC this year. So it was like, all right, they're going to go to Minnesota. They're going to win. They're going to go to Maryland. They're going to win. They're going to be 6-1. Like, what do we think of USC? And now they went and lost those 2 games. And then so it's like, I think Lincoln Riley's feeling a little sorry for himself. And
I also think, I mean, if we're looking at their schedule here, the first game was a neutral site game against LSU. It was in Vegas.
Sure.
And Lincoln Riley hasn't won a road game at all yet this season. So I don't blame the travel. Blame it on the fact that your team doesn't show up on the road. When you can score 38 points against a Wisconsin, not saying Wisconsin's world beaters, but when you could score 38 points against a decent Wisconsin defense, and then you go and play Maryland and, you let them score 29 and you only score 28. I mean, that's just your team not showing up to play on the road.
That's what it is.
But hey, y'all.
It's, again, like I said, I think it's kind of a case of a little bit of spilled milk and Lincoln feeling sorry for himself, because I think even after the Michigan game, I think a lot of people thought USC was going to continue to go on the same trajectory, and they haven't. They lost 3 games in a row.
You're 100% right too, Gene. UCLA did go to Rutgers and win.
Yes, and just so you know, that win. So as of October 7th, obviously it's not updated, it's a couple weeks back. But when the Big Ten and all of them started traveling, Big Ten teams were 1-8 when traveling across 2 time zones. So yes, UCLA won. There are going to be outliers. Thank you for pointing that out. But I'm just saying the overall record shows something totally different.
Here's the other thing too.
But what were the games though?
That matters.
I'm not going to get into that. I mean, I'll see what this was. Again, this was October 7th when this was released, which was close to when they were talking about it with Oregon and Ohio State. There was talk about it during the game about traveling and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a list of the games. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Michigan going to Washington, loss. USC going to Minnesota, loss. UCLA going to Penn State, that's not a surprise loss. Michigan State going to Oregon, not a surprise loss. USC losing to Wisconsin, surprise loss. Washington
USC
losing to Rutgers.
Wisconsin.
No, Wisconsin beat USC.
Yes.
Oh,
no, USC beat Wisconsin.
No, sorry. Wisconsin went to USC and lost. Thank you, sorry. Washington lost to Rutgers, which probably shouldn't have happened. Northwestern lost. What? Yeah. And then we got the Indiana.
There's not one game there that sticks out though. Like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like again.
But some of these scores are what's egregious.
What was
13.
Who was that?
That was Indiana versus UCLA. Indiana 42-13.
Okay, but Indiana's what 11th in the country.
And what UCLA has like 2 wins right now?
And UCLA stinks.
I'm just saying, guys. The numbers are speaking for
but
itself.
What do you think, though, Alex? What do you think?
Like, what's your opinion? I want the game. I want the game where you think you can blame it on it.
Well, I just closed that. Hold on a second. I guess I got back up. I would definitely say Washington traveling to Rutgers. That was a loss that Washington definitely should not have lost. I also think USC.
They're not good.
Okay. I also think they beat you, but USC
exactly. And my point is, we turned the ball over 4 times, 3 of which were inside their 30. They're not that good.
And you don't think that maybe jet lag, travel arrangements, sleep arrangements, things like that, like
we literally no. Our quarterback fumbled the ball once, and the other 3 times literally threw it directly to a defender.
Okay,
that's not a jet lag.
That wraps up. Break the huddle because we are about to run out of play clock time, Bill. So. Well, segment's over.
The only thing is, I'll say this too. It's the first year. These teams will make adjustments next year. They'll figure it out. They'll be like, you know what?
Right.
If we're going to California, whatever, we need to leave a day earlier. If USC is going to Penn State next year, they'll be like, we need to leave a day earlier. That's all it is.
Guess what? I know we lost the game, but again, it wasn't the reason. Ohio State, when they had to play Oregon, they left Friday morning. Not shit changed with their routine. And I was never one that said, oh, traveling to the West Coast and playing at 7:30. Like I was never that guy. So
nope.
You can keep your schedules the same. Ohio and Oregon are a 5-hour plane ride, most likely. And they left the Friday, day before, and they were perfectly fine. So I'm not buying it.
All right. Let's get Week 8 recaps. Let's go. Clock me up. Do you want to start? Get the FCS game out of the way? It was a barn burner.
That's cool.
No pun intended.
Definitely could start there. I will say the one thing that surprised me about that game was how low scoring it was.
Yeah. Both defenses showed up.
And the Bison won, as we predicted, Bill.
We did. Charles on the wrong side of that one.
As usual.
Final score was North Dakota State 13, South Dakota State 9. So it was a really good game. Listen, we talked about it before the game. They're the best 2 teams in FCS. South Dakota State we knew was going to lean on their defense. I thought the game would be a little bit more high scoring because North Dakota State obviously they have a good offense, and I thought South Dakota State would be able to move the ball against North Dakota State's defense, which is probably their weakest between the two. So to see it finish kind of 13-9 was a little surprising, but it was. I watched a good solid 2.5 quarters of it. It was 2 teams that you could tell are very, very, very familiar with each other. are used to playing each other. The rivalry, it was hard hitting. It was a defensive struggle. Everything you wanted was there. Crowd is crazy. The Fargo Dome, like I said, which I've told you, if you're not familiar with it, look it up. It's literally a big barn. That's what it is. It's a huge, oversized barn. It's awesome. But I mean, listen, they're probably going to play again in probably like a month and a half, 2 months, whatever their championship is. I'd be shocked if it's not those two teams. And it was a really good game. It was just a hard-fought, kind of defensive struggle between two rivals that are obviously just know which, each one's going to do. So
I don't want to take any credit from my friend Tanner. He was out covering the game. He works out there, like doing like reporting and stuff, and he was at the game, and he said something that literally I think is perfect. These two teams, as good as they are, if either of them ever get the opportunity to come up to the FBS level, they have to go together. Like, I think you have to get both schools in the same conference. This rivalry is unparalleled at the FCS level.
it is.
And you can just tell, like, by the energy in the stadium. Like, everything about that game was absolutely incredible. And it kind of sucks that – I shouldn't say sucks, but in a sense, it kind of sucks that game day wasn't able to be there to capture that atmosphere. Because
didn't they go last year?
They have gone recently.
I think they went to North Dakota last year.
They have gone recently, but I definitely know it wasn't the like South Dakota, North Dakota State like rivalry game. But yeah, absolutely incredible game. Two incredible fan bases there, and they 100% should see each other again down the line, because I think these two are the best two teams in the FCS level. So not the end of the road by any means for either of them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing both of them play again.
I don't know if I feel like Mountain West would be a better option for them. I don't know if the Pac-12 is a big jump.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the Mountain West would be perfect for both of them. It's just my opinion.
Well, hey, I mean, I think any conference, I guess these two schools would be definitely on the up and up. I mean, this game came down to the wire. I mean, it was 9-7 at halftime. And then North Dakota went on a 92-yard drive in 10 plays and 5 minutes, kind of took the game clock out and scored the game go-ahead touchdown to go up 13-9. And then, the Jackrabbits, who really weren't able to move the ball too well. Obviously, they were running the ball well. They had to turn to their passing game and ultimately threw an interception to kind of end the game and end it in North Dakota's favor. But South Dakota, they were driving at the end of the game. I mean, it was going to be an exciting finish. It's something to look forward to later on in the season. But games like this in the FCS level are, that's what you want to have happen, to get more exposure for these schools, these teams, these players. I mean, some of these kids are just as good as the kids that are playing at the D1 schools. They just aren't getting the exposure or in smaller states, where their high schools were. So it's good to get them some exposure, and it was a great game.
It was. All right, let's go to last night's game, which was we'll cover the group of five. This is a very big football game both nationally and for the Mountain West, obviously. Boise State, number 17th in the country, traveled to UNLV, who was 6-1 at the time. And really back and forth game. UNLV actually started the game pretty strong. I watched as much as I could until I fell asleep. Boise State had a crazy second quarter. They were up 20-10 at half, I think. And then UNLV came out in the second half and started playing well again. They were actually up when I went to sleep. I thought they were going to win. Then I woke up this morning and saw Boise pulled it out 29-24. UNLV was kind of the first team to really, kind of keep Genty, under wraps a little bit. And I say that he still had 135 yards rushing, something like that. But on 33 carries. So, yeah, average of 3.9 yards a carry. Not the explosive, 200, 250-yard, 3-touchdown performance. He's got a really good defense. Really good defense. But Boise State prevails. Are they heading above firmly in the driver's seat for that at-large bid now for the group of five for the college football playoff?
I am going to say No, they are not.
Ooh.
What? Who do you have?
It's not that I have somebody. It's just that I think that there are two schools that control their own destiny just a tad bit more.
Who?
I
Army
disagree.
and Navy. Because all you have to do, because depending on both of those schools, let's say at worst, they both have one loss. Either one of them. All they would have to, if they beat a Notre Dame team and go undefeated and then beat, let's say it's Navy. If they beat a Notre Dame team, let's say this week, end of the year, they have to play one loss Army and they beat them twice. I think that would, an undefeated Army or Navy, like that gets you into the college football playoff if you have that Notre Dame win on the schedule. I'm sorry. I think it does.
All right, but here,
a lot of hypotheticals. That's a lot of still to happen.
It is, but I'm just saying they control.
What do you think right now, and today, without looking into the future? You think does Boise State have the best chance right now? The answer is yes. They have the best loss in the country by 3 points to the number one team in the nation. I mean, it's you can't.
Yeah, but you put that in over a team that beats Notre Dame and is undefeated.
They didn't beat Notre Dame yet.
Hasn't happened yet.
Like
hasn't happened.
Here. All right, let's go most realistic situation. I'll say Army Navy both lose to Notre Dame. Okay, that puts them one loss. I'll listen. I'll entertain you though, and say that either Army or Navy sweep both the conference championship game and then the rivalry game. So it'll put one of them sitting there at 12-1. Just 12-1 Army or Navy getting over 12-1 Boise State. Because I don't think there's a shot.
No, but I mean, to just think that Notre Dame is just going to.
I'm with you, bro. I would love to see Army Navy both beat Notre Dame. I'm on that boat with you. Like, there's no cell in my body that doesn't want to see Notre Dame lose to both academies.
I'm just saying it's not a foregone conclusion. That's all I'm saying. It's Notre Dame that if it was Oregon, Michigan, Ohio State, it'd be different. But it's Notre Dame. We saw them lose to Ball State earlier this year.
Northern Illinois.
Same. Mac, my apologies, Northern Illinois. My apologies.
It wasn't Kent.
Black and red Mac school. Same thing.
Jeez.
Racist. It's I would love to say it. I mean, we're gonna do it soon. I hate this too. I don't know why Notre Dame can't go to Navy and play at Navy. Like they're playing at neutral field today. I'm assuming is Army Notre Dame either at Notre Dame or that's probably a neutral site too.
I'm checking right now.
It's annoying as hell. Like I'll tell you why. I've now been to Annapolis twice. It's a great college town. It's a really nice town and it's beautiful and it's old. Everything's all brick. Like it's gorgeous. But like you have to drive through like pretty much like the academy to like get to certain parts of town. And like I've seen the stadium, like it's on the water, like it's gorgeous. Like I don't understand why Navy just gives up that home game every year.
Ugh,
it frustrates the hell out of me. Like make them go there. Where are they playing?
Yankee Stadium.
Yankee Stadium. That's
trash,
terrible.
Man. That's because it's 70% of the people that beat them are Notre Dame fans. It's annoying.
Yeah, and then today's in MetLife. Obviously, but Yankee Stadium, that's nuts. Like also they scheduled it. That was towards the end of the season. It's on November 23rd. Which is really which is super weird to me because obviously when they scheduled this, they weren't anticipating a possibility of Army being undefeated and this game being a ranked matchup. But like I think if they had any inkling that this would happen, they would not be playing at a baseball stadium. That's
Can you pull up the rest of Navy's schedule real quick? Like if they do win today, is there anywhere like possibility they slip up?
They have Rice, South Florida, Tulane, East Carolina, and then Army Navy.
Tulane game's gonna be a tough game.
That's a game where that is.
It's at home.
I don't think Rice is good.
No.
East Carolina, they just fired their coach, didn't they? I thought so.
But yeah, that Tulane game is going to be a good one.
All right. Anything else about? Yeah, you gotta go. But you gotta. What do you think about Boise? Cottrell doesn't like him apparently.
It's not that I don't like them. I'm just saying they
I heard. I heard you don't like them. I heard. That's what I heard.
I honestly was really impressed with UNLV's defense last night. Honestly, like I said, they obviously preached gang tackling all week in practice, getting to the ball as fast as possible. Not because, like I said, every single team that's tried to get Genty down on the ground one-on-one has not been successful. Hence all these long runs, huge averages. But last night, UNLV was gang tackling, grouping to the ball. It really played well. Like I said, eliminating his yards per carry down to 3.9 yards per carry. And we had to carry the ball 33 times to get 130 yards last night. I mean, that's how the defenses going forward should be playing Boise State. So I think that UNLV may have kind of unlocked a little bit of a defensive schematic edge versus Boise State. So UNLV played really well. But yeah, I mean, I think Boise State's got to be the front runner to make the college football playoff, which we all had them in that spot at the beginning of the year before they made their starting quarterback decision. And then we all kind of changed our minds up.
I did.
Okay, that's true. You did not. But Cottrell and I were like, who's this quarterback? How good is he? And he really hasn't to do much because Genty's so dang good. Yeah, right?
He hasn't had to do a damn thing.
Quarterback. They just have to do this. He takes care of the rest. I am back on the Boise State train. I've seen them firsthand against Oregon. I know how tough of a team they are. And like I said, I don't think the rest of the way they have a game that really threatens them. Obviously, when they go to when they play in the conference championship game, that'll be a tough one. They might face the same UNLV squad. Who knows? But yeah, they got San Diego State, Nevada, San Jose State's playing really well, Wyoming, and then Oregon State. But realistically, they should be able to go 5-0 in that stretch. So I'm pretty high on the Broncos this year.
That UNLV team already beat Oregon State. I can't believe that UNLV lost to Syracuse. That's their other loss. I just looked it up real quick. Overtime, 44-41.
It was a banger.
It was.
That was not a Kyle McCord 3 interception touchdown game.
Yikes! All right.
And how the hell did Syracuse how do they keep getting these non-Saturday games? Like who was in charge of their schedule?
That is wild. I didn't even notice that.
Let's go down to one of the absolute biggest. I mean, we mentioned Army and Navy already. We got to bring up the other huge surprise in the country this year. We'll go down to Bloomington, Indiana. Indiana 56, Nebraska 7. Jeez, this is a game that we were kind of all like, hey, Dylan Raiola coming off a bye week, gonna go to Indiana, kind of maybe see what they're really all about. Nope, didn't happen. Indiana wiped. This is never a game. I think this was 21-7 after the first quarter, and it just got
blink. Yeah,
worse. Got worse real quick. I stopped paying attention to it. Listen, I know Nebraska's not Nebraska if we're being honest, is still kind of they're towards the upper end of the mid pack of the Big Ten. They're still a year away. I think it's a team we all agree is going to be a lot better next year. That being said, they got dismantled by Indiana. I don't know if we know how good they are yet, though. They obviously not that Michigan's any kind of litmus test this year, but they haven't played Michigan yet. They haven't played Oregon. They haven't played Ohio State, which is weird because I feel like you guys always play each other at the beginning of the year, and that didn't happen this year now.
Guess what? We get them the game before fucking Michigan this year, so
doesn't matter. You guys are gonna beat us by 20. And
how many will we beat you by, Bill? I like this game.
Yeah, I think we're actually gonna beat you, which is gonna be fun.
Wow. You're a secret Ohio State fan. I knew it.
Listen. Here, I actually was thinking about this morning, and I was going to bring this up. I wasn't going to bring it up because it's his birthday, but I'm going to do it now. I get to be the Gene role this year, which is very
fun for you.
It's fun. I still get to low key root for Michigan. My national championship game was Ohio State, Georgia, so that's 2 more teams I get to root for. BYU has kind of become my darling, so wow. I got BYU on the side.
All the undefeated makes sense.
And I've been on record. I only root against Penn State when they play Michigan. So I got Penn State sitting up there at number 2 or number 3. I'm loving life right now. I got half the top 25 that I can claim at this point. So now, I understand why Gene likes college football so much. It's great.
With all the conferences, it is easy to have multiple teams. I get it, but continue.
I got like 6 of the top 12 I can root for right now.
I only got 2. I got 2 that I'm rolling with right now. And
but that being said,
Ohio State and Texas A&M.
Yeah, Texas A&M is kind of like your darling, kind of like BYU. BYU's got a tough one today. But what do we really think Indiana is? Like, when are we going to know? I think we play them next week. Actually,
you got 3. You're 3 weeks away. You play them on the 9th. They end their season with Michigan, and then they come to Ohio State, and then end the year at Purdue. I mean, I think that Michigan game is really going to be the tell. They play Washington.
Penn State or no?
No, they don't.
They're gonna beat the shit out of Washington. I'm telling you.
They play Washington today at home. But for me, this Indiana team, I'm actually surprised that. Granted, I would have never saw this run out of them coming, but I'm surprised I wasn't on them more because they got Kurt Cignetti. This is literally the coach who crafted together the James Madison team.
It is.
From the past few seasons. He's literally been a winner everywhere he's gone. And so wasn't expecting it to happen year one for sure. But like now that I was like really thinking about it, I'm like, I'm not surprised at all that this has happened here. So good for Oregon. Not Oregon. Good for Indiana.
Oregon's on the brain, baby. I get it. I get it.
Indiana being able to do this. And I mean, if we're looking at this schedule, like just
they lose today.
Here, if they win every game, let's say they lose to, Ohio, going on the road to Ohio State. I think that's going to be a loss.
They lose today against Washington. Rourke is out. He had thumb surgery.
They don't expect
new quarterback coming in. They're going to simplify the offense, which is going to make it probably a run-heavy offense. Washington's offense can put some points on the board if they can get things rolling early. I think today is a problem for Indiana, not in that case, which sucks because you don't get a true test of who Indiana is today because Rourke is out. But I do think that they stumbled today. I think
with
today
that
is
said, though, 11-1 Indiana. Does 11-1 Indiana make the playoff?
I don't know. Does Florida State, after losing their quarterback and losing a game,
Curtis Rourke, he's coming back. He's not out for the year.
Yeah,
no, he's not.
Are we saying their loss is Ohio State?
Yes.
I'm saying Washington, they lose today, and Ohio State.
Washington is not good.
They're not, but that's not what I'm saying. But Rourke, the starting quarterback, is out. That changes shit immensely.
They're still 7.5 point favorites with a backup quarterback.
5.5 right now. Active 5.5 points. It's dropped 1.5. I'm just saying.
Pac-12 nuts are betting on Florida or Washington like you.
Again, to your other point though, they're traveling across the country, Alex. That doesn't.
I know, but apparently to you guys, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Okay, then. I guess my point is being proven even more.
I'm assuming if they win today, that means they're beating Michigan. Who else do they have?
Purdue, Michigan State.
They're going to beat both of them. I don't know how you would keep them out at that point. If they're 11-1, if they're 11, at that point, they're probably in contention for the Big Ten championship game too. I don't know.
True.
They would have some shitty tiebreakers because Ohio State would be in ahead of them. Penn State would also still be, I think, ahead of them as well because of like the strength of their schedule.
It'll go by ranking though, doesn't it?
I think if both teams are 11-1, I think the top one is mutual, like
common opponents.
Yeah, but I also think it goes by like the strength of their record, not just the ranking for the conference at least. But given that scenario though, you'd have Oregon still as an undefeated. Ohio State in this scenario would have beaten both. If Penn State beats Ohio State, they're going to be a shoe-in for that game. So Indiana's got a tough uphill battle to win the conference, but 11-1, I think that would speak for.
If you go 11-1, if you go 11-1 in the Big Ten, I don't see any situation where they don't get in. I'll leave it at that. You're not putting two-loss Ole Miss with 2 bad losses in over them. You're not doing any of that. Like, none of those teams are getting it over them. So, and Ole Miss is probably going to lose again. So, I don't. They have a couple tough games. That's all I'm saying. I'm not even like bashing on Lane Kiffin. I'm just saying like the odds of them beating. I think they have A&M, Texas, and I think Bama left or somebody like that. They're losing one of those games. I don't. 11-1. If you're 11-1 in the Big Ten, I don't know how you're not there. It would be a travesty if they don't get in.
Look, all I'm saying is keep an eye on that game today. Indiana has the number 1 point scoring offense in the country right now, 11th passing offense in the country, and they're losing a huge part of that. So, like I said, and who they played? Really, literally nobody. Obviously, last week's Nebraska win was impressive. I do have to admit that really got my attention. If we look at the rest of the schedule, they really played a bunch of nobodies. And
remember when Washington went to Rutgers and got killed? Yeah, me too.
Remember when Michigan went to Washington and lost?
Correct. That's what we're not good. Your whole argument for them being a good team is them beating Michigan at home.
They were a good team.
I
did say Indiana is. I said it's a shame that Indiana's going to lose today because we're not going to get a good sample size from them. But because Rourke is out, that's why I have Washington winning. So I did say that. I did open statement saying I'm not saying Washington is better. I did say that.
And we started Alex Orji. If Tuttle would have started the game, we probably still win the game.
He's still on it. He was waiting for me to stop talking to finish this argument.
I'm not. Washington's just not that good. That's all I'm saying. If they win the next, fine, so be it. Next game. So the big 2 are left. We'll start with this one. Tennessee 24, Alabama 17. Tennessee breaks Alabama's heart 2 years in a row at home, Neyland Stadium. Tore the goalpost down again. I don't know where they ended up this time, but Nico kind of came to life. I think it's the first game of the year that I felt like anyway that Jalen Milroe didn't really play well. I thought he had spurts in other games where he didn't play well, but then he finished very well. I don't think that was the case last Saturday. I think it was the first poor performance out of him for the year, in my opinion. And I think things will, again, I just think things are a little bit different. I hate to say it. We mentioned it on the show last week, and then somebody else, said it on national TV again. That's the type of game that Nick Saban doesn't lose. And I don't mean it as a knock on Kalen DeBoer, because it's not. I think he's a very good football coach. I also think part of the Alabama mystique absolutely was knowing that Nick Saban was on the other sideline. And I think that was part of it, and it's not there anymore. I think these teams just look at Alabama differently now. And Tennessee had played awful for 3 weeks in a row, if we're being honest. They haven't played a good football game in a month. At home, like I said, Nico came to life. I think Alabama's defense is absolutely it's definitely the weak point in their game on their team. I think they're a year away with all the young kids are starting that they probably weren't planning on starting this year before all the kids at the portal when Saban retired. But that being said, I'm not going to feel sorry for them. They're all 4- and 5-star kids. But I think Alabama's in the same boat as Ole Miss. I mean, if they finish the year somehow with 2 losses, I think they'll get in because they're Alabama and they'll get the benefit of the doubt. But if they lose another football game, I think they're out. I really do. I don't know how you'd be able to put them in at this point. I think they have problems. They have holes defensively. I don't know. What do you guys see? What do you think their prognosis is going forward? And then obviously, is Tennessee back? I mean,
I know we got to start to move a little bit here, but I got a question for you guys. Just because we just talked about it, 11-1 Indiana, who has essentially beaten nobody. 10-2 Bama, who gets in? If it's like one spot on the line.
What is Bama's? So what's Bama's best win right now?
Georgia.
And they've losses to Tennessee, and who else they lose to?
Vanderbilt. A ranked Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Who, if Vanderbilt beats Texas today, that's not such a bad loss. You know what I mean?
But if they're
if
not,
that
they're not.
happens,
They're not.
But again, though, if Vandy beats Texas today, I'd go out on a limb and say they probably go 10-2 this year. Like, so then that'd be a whole nother monkey wrench into the scenario.
that'd be crazy.
Well, you have to put Vanderbilt in over Alabama at that point. They beat them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Vanderbilt's only
all
got
right,
one
so
loss.
if we're saying Indiana's loss, then is Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
What's the score of that game?
Well, where's that? Is that at Ohio State?
Ohio State,
It's at Ohio State.
Okay,
What's the score of that game?
10-point loss?
Really? I think it's probably 17-point loss. If I'm looking at
I was trying to give them benefit of the doubt here.
for Ohio State, it's a 17-point loss for Ohio State. That's what I was saying. I'm kidding. I think it's a 17-point game. I don't think
if they go to Ohio State and hang in that game for 4 quarters and show that like they're legit, I don't care what you say. A loss is a loss, and they have to matter. Because if not, you get right back in that BS. We go right back into what we did last year. Like you're saying, losses don't matter because of who you are, and oh well, like sorry, I'll put it in. Sorry, they could have. There's no excuse for them to go to Vanderbilt losing. There isn't. Like that. That's all them. That's Alabama's problem. That's not Indiana's problem.
But about that, especially with the Alabama-Tennessee game, before we get too off topic, honestly, I think it was a tale of two halves. Obviously, at halftime, Alabama was up 7-0, and Tennessee went in the locker room at halftime, made some adjustments. Kalen DeBoer and Alabama did not make adjustments. In the second half, Alabama looked exactly like they did the first half, only getting up to 17, and Tennessee was really able to move the ball, scoring 24 points in that second half, ultimately getting the win. But what they really excelled was on the defensive line. Alabama is normally averaging 165 yards per carry. 165 yards per carry. That's crazy. 165 yards per game this season. And against Tennessee, they were averaging 2.2 yards per carry and only got up to 77 yards on the ground. It's really eliminated Alabama's offensive strategy, forcing Jalen Milroe to throw the ball more, forcing him to throw 2 interceptions. So Tennessee just came in with a great game plan. They went to halftime down 7, and Heupel was like, let's get hyped, guys. We're down 7 to Alabama right now. We have a chance. We just got to make a couple tweaks. They made those tweaks and ultimately came out with the win. Honestly, I think Kalen DeBoer got outcoached, and that's ultimately what led to Tennessee winning.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that Tennessee never abandoned the run, and I think for Alabama, big point for them has been getting Jalen Milroe involved in the running game and having that threat of him running, but also the explosive plays. And you saw Ryan Williams have a big time catch in that game, and he scored in that one. But I mean, outside of that, there were no true explosive plays that happened for that Alabama team. And when you have Jalen Milroe throwing 2 turnovers in that game, and you don't have the explosiveness coming from that offense, you're going to put yourself in bad shape, especially when Tennessee's figured out how to start running the football effectively against you. Say what you want to about Nico, he did throw the 1 interception in that game, and he was really just average, across the board there. Nothing really stood out there, but him being able to he had one long run in that game, him just having like that threat and just being somewhat mobile against the Alabama defense definitely made a difference as well. So, I mean, for me, I think this Alabama team, I still think they have a lot that's in front of them. Clearly, the AP doesn't really matter too much just because, college football rankings are going to be coming out here shortly. But them right now being at 15, that kind of lets you know that the AP poll at least thinks, hey, all they got to do is get one good win. And I guarantee if they beat a Missouri team at home that's not going to have Brady Cook playing, although Brady Cook makes Missouri a lot better than what they already are, them being 21, I think, is generous. And I think the AP is going to buy into the notion that they beat this ranked team at home, and Bama's going to be back in the top 12 next week. So they still have everything in front of them. They have to go to LSU next week. So that'll really be like the true tale of what happens the rest of the way for this Bama season. But them only being at 15 right now, I think they're still in a great spot moving forward as far as like the college football.
When are the first rankings?
November or something. Second week in November?
I think I thought it was next Tuesday.
I say it's gotta be before
that's cool too. That's cool. So I knew it was in November. I thought the date I saw was November, I think 4th or November.
Are you
5th.
looking up? Are you looking up, Control?
Yeah.
All right.
Good, because I'm not. My hands are here. Honestly, though,
November 5th.
I knew it was November 5th.
Damn.
Okay, cool.
That's next week, though.
It's next week.
I thought that was farther away.
I mean,
No, it's 2 weeks.
technically,
That's 2 weeks, bro. Gosh, man.
It's 9 days.
It's like a week and a half because they come out on Tuesdays, I believe.
So we're both right.
So November. So they come out on Election Day.
Nice.
Jesus Christ.
Sweet.
Hey,
that'd be
I'm
fun.
happy. It'll give me something else. It'll give me something else to watch for like at least an hour.
Yeah.
Good
no,
Lord.
Absolutely.
But who's next on our slate of games? I mean, obviously Tennessee took care of business.
We might go live that night, gentlemen.
Just screw it.
I'm down.
Live reaction.
That's cool with me.
I think
live watch. We could do a live
Yeah.
watch along, and as they reveal each team, we'll just talk about each team real quick.
I'm down for that. I think softball will be over by then, so that might be doable.
Hey, there we go, Justin. Put it on your calendar, bro. Do we have another game to talk about, or was that it?
No, we got it. We talked about this game a little bit already,
Georgia.
but yeah, Georgia 30,
Georgia
at Texas 15. Texas was number 1. Georgia was 5. Obviously, they've switched now. I will say this. I'll give Coachell's credit, even though I kind of agree with him. Then I kind of fell back from it a little bit because the next 2 weeks they didn't really look like I thought they were going to look. But that being said, on Saturday I felt like Georgia looked like Jesus, really? Georgia.
That was you last week, bro.
No, it was a cough, number 1. Jesus. I couldn't even breathe last week. Georgia finally looked like the Georgia we all thought we were getting this year. That looked like a team that could win the national championship last week. To go into Texas, slow down that offense. They actually pulled Quinn Ewers at one point and put in Archie to kind of get a spark because Quinn was kind of all over the place. That looked like a Georgia Bull. That looked like a Kirby Smart Georgia Bulldog team that has figured it out and is kind of ready to go for the stretch run. Which, if you're everybody else in the SEC, I'd be a little bit worried. That is the team I expected to show up at the end of the year against either an Ohio State, an Oregon, or somebody of that ilk for the national championship. That's the team I think we're going to get. I think they look great. Carson Beck played well. They ran the ball well. I think it's also the first time the defense kind of actually was like, all right, you know what? We got to flex a little bit here and show the country what we can do. Go in. Honest to God, for me, it was I felt like Georgia approached this game strictly as a business trip, which is the right mindset to have. They went in there we're going to take care of business. We're going to take our win. We're going to shut you guys down, and we're getting out of here. And that's exactly what they did, minus, getting Coke bottles thrown at them. But Georgia looked great. Texas, I think you can make the same argument for Texas as we were just talking about Indiana. Their best high-profile win at this point is Michigan. And again, it's not saying a lot. I think we're going to find out a lot about what Texas is in these next couple of weeks. They have a couple big games left. Go ahead, talk about it. Jump in. Let's go.
Texas,
let's go, Duck Hat.
Texas posted on their social media before immediately taking down the post that Quinn Ewers was planning on sitting out the rest of the season to focus on the NFL draft. And then
wasn't Texas.
Immediately,
It
was it
24/7?
Was it? It 24/7 reported Texas's tweet. Okay, I was not able to find the tweet.
That's because they didn't tweet it. It came from 24/7 Sports.
I always thought it. Yeah, I didn't think it came directly from Texas.
No, man.
I'll give you this though. Listen, they didn't make the tweet up, so somebody said.
I think the shit was real at this point.
Correct.
Yeah.
Somebody leaked it to them. That became a discussion somewhere that somebody was privy to. 24/7 didn't wake up and was like, let's blow our credibility and make this Quinn Ewers tweet up. So yeah, it came from somebody within the program. They got it from somebody.
I mean, when I look at this game, obviously the score 30-15, the score looks terrible, but both teams literally played like shit. I mean, Carson Beck had 3 interceptions. Texas had 4 turnovers, including an interception on the Georgia 23-yard line that 2 plays later they fumbled away. I mean, so this was a terribly played game by Texas. I think if you ask them what the worst game they could have possibly played is, I think they would have played. They'll point to this Georgia Texas game as the worst example of what they could have shown on the field. So I don't think this really defines this Texas team. I think this Texas team is going to be fine going forward. Carson Beck, like I said, I don't even think Carson Beck played that well. Like I said, 3 interceptions, 2 in the first half. I still think that the Georgia, after Ole Miss getting their second loss, I do still feel like Texas and Georgia are on a collision course for a rematch in the SEC championship game. And I think that the outcome might be different. But with this whole Quinn Ewers possibly sitting out for the season to focus on the NFL draft, bringing in Arch. I texted you guys when it happened. I was like, Arch is in. Quinn is on the bench. And you said, can they go back from this? And they only had Arch do, one drive right before halftime, and then Quinn Ewers went back in.
Yep.
And he actually had a decent drive on. I mean, he actually looked decent on the drive. Had some a one overthrow that really kind of messed up the whole drive, but he was looking good against that Georgia defense. And then Ewers went back in the second half, and we never talked about it again. But
well, yeah,
I mean, if at halftime you're already looking at possibility of making that quarterback change, I don't know what changed his mind. I mean, just commit to the change.
I think it's the spark. Like he was trying to get a spark from the team, and you throw Arch in there to see like, hey, does he bring me the spark this game? And he went in there, like you said. I mean, the drive was going well, but then the fumble happened, so it's like, all right, well, he's not the spark. We'll go back to Quinn. We'll see what we got in the second half.
Correct. If he doesn't fumble there and they go down and score, you have to start him in the second half.
Correct.
You have to. And then at that point, if they somehow that was my point, and we've talked about this all year long because obviously Quinn was going to be the guy, but there's a whole lot of people there that just want Archie to play.
Yep.
And as soon as it's the worst, like anybody will tell you, the worst thing you can have as a starting quarterback is a guy that's behind you that is very good that people like. Like it's not a good situation. We've talked about Quinn at length before when he went to Ohio State and kind of left because he wasn't handed the starting job. Some people think it was money. Some think it was a better situation. Some people think it's because he didn't want to compete. It's probably a mixture of everything at some degree. Then you have the tweet come out right after they lose a football game and he got benched for a little bit. Right away, all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's, Quinn's going to shut it down and get ready for the draft. Retract it real quick. There's probably some truth in it. Like we said, it came from somewhere. I don't know. I really don't want to believe Quinn's that soft, but at the same time, I think there's a huge part of the Texas fan base that wants Archie Manning to play. And I don't think he likes that. I think for their success going forward, I still think it has to be Quinn unless he continues to struggle. But at some point, like Sarkisian can't keep playing both sides. Because again, I think if Archie doesn't fumble there and they score, you are absolutely at a point of not going back. Like we talked about this with the injury. If he won everything, if he comes out in the second half, even keeps that game closer or plays well the rest of the way and they lose by 3 or something against Georgia, I don't know how you go back to Quinn. At that point, you're saying, all right, like we think we're playing better with Archie. Like it's a tough situation. And that's what happens when you have 2 guys on campus like that. So,
well, it's crazy.
It's going to be interesting to see go forward. Yeah.
It took 8 weeks for us to see the weakness. We talked about it preseason that this Texas team, after losing their starting running back in preseason, they were going to have a running the ball issue. They were overachieving the first 6 weeks in the offensive line, but Georgia absolutely exposed Texas's offensive line. 22 yards on the ground, and 11 tackles for loss, 7 sacks. I mean, that is absolutely insane penetration by Georgia's defense, and I think Texas has a little bit of a bigger issue they need to focus on, especially in the trenches.
The one thing that I'll say about this game is that you talk about it being a bad performance, basically from both sides of both teams essentially in this game. I think if you look at it from Georgia's side of it, hey, we were up 23 points at halftime. We threw 2 interceptions, and Texas really wasn't able to do anything. I mean, I think that's I would look at that as a positive if I'm Georgia. We didn't even play our best football game. We just dominated the number one team in the country. And I think, to something I said last week, Texas hadn't really seen an offense with a pulse yet this season, and I think that kind of showed. And now, granted, I don't think their defense will always look this bad. I mean, they held Georgia 7 points in the second half, so you got to give them credit for adjusting there. But I definitely think the speed, the flow, everything that the Georgia offense was doing, like, to me, it was pretty evident. They're like, okay, we haven't seen this yet this year. We don't know how to really react to this. And it took them a half to figure it out. But at that point, it was too late. And on the flip side of it, their offense wasn't moving the ball at all. So I think that this is a Texas team that still definitely has a lot to play for. I mean, we'll get into their preview for today's game, a little bit later on. I do think eventually they will have to hunker down. You can't, even if Quinn goes out and throws 3 interceptions, I think you have to have him be the one captain that you kind of sink the ship with. But yeah, I mean, I think Texas will be fine moving forward. I think this was a good, I don't want to call it a wake-up game because it's a top 5 matchup, but I think this is a good game to potentially turn the corner on.
Before I move on, who do you think is the starting quarterback for Texas's college football playoff game? Quinn Ewers or Arch?
Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, I mean, it should be Quinn Ewers. The only way it's not is if something drastic happens.
I think injury is the only way.
I think if he has another crap showing like he did against Georgia and the week before, I think we might see Arch. They lose one more game, I think we see Arch. But that's it. Are we into previews now? Because I'm excited for the previews today. These games are on fire.
We are previews, and we are going to start with the one we've already talked about. Number 12, Notre Dame versus number 24, Navy.
Let's go.
At East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Meadowlands shithole that it is.
I had to use those helmets because they have the same helmets.
That's fine.
They're both in gold.
I want Navy to win badly. I just don't know if it's going to happen. Notre Dame's defense is bagged up enough to give me hope in this. There is. The only problem that there ever is with these games is, I mean, Navy just runs a basic offense, which usually at the beginning of the game always gives teams credit because they're not used to seeing the option anymore, and they usually have success. Navy actually has a pretty good defense. Notre Dame's offense can be very anemic at times. We've already seen that. It's pretty much Riley Leonard or bust. I just don't know how many points Navy can score on Notre Dame's defense, and that's what it boils down to for me. I want Navy to win badly, like badly. The text messages I'll be able to get to send out if they do are just,
facts.
Bill, whose defense is better, Northern Illinois or Navy? If you had to, I know you probably haven't watched a lot of Northern Illinois. I grant that, but on paper, you could probably see they're pretty even, right? Maybe Navy has a slight edge on some athleticism pieces.
They're probably pretty even. The difference is Notre Dame played Northern Illinois week 3.
Correct.
Week 9 now. I think they're a better football team than they were then.
Absolutely. However, their issues they had against Northern Illinois was stopping the run. And what is something that Navy excels at? And that's
I'm with you, bro.
Freaking ball, man. So I'm saying this game, 14-point, I'm saying this game is not a walk in the park for Notre Dame by any stretch of the imagination. I know you want Navy to win more than anything. I don't think I think in the fourth quarter you're going to have something to cheer for when it comes to this game. I got a little feeling about it.
I definitely think Navy covers. I'll say they come up a possession short, unfortunately. I'll say Notre Dame wins 23-17.
Okay. Ooh, I like that.
I
do think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game as well, but ultimately I think Notre Dame is going to pull it out. I don't love Notre Dame by any means. Like Bill, I would be very happy if Navy can pull this one off, but I think it's going to come down to eventually there needs to be like big plays that happen in this one. And I would say Notre Dame, yeah, maybe they struggled a little bit against Northern Illinois in stopping the run, but I also think that Notre Dame defense is stellar. I think they'll be able to keep the somewhat of a one-dimensional offensive Navy at bay, and I think they take care of business. Navy has been throwing the ball a little bit more than normal
That's true.
this year, but with that said, I think Notre Dame wins a tight one. I think the spread is nuts. I think it was at 13 last I looked at
14
it.
Still
points
12
right
and a
now.
half, I think.
Yeah,
What is
so
it?
I got 14. Again, I only have
Jesus.
DraftKings, so
I think that's a crazy spread there. I think this is a tight game, one possession, but ultimately,
absolutely.
I trust Notre Dame a little bit more.
No, I agree with both of you. This is going to be definitely a close game. The thing that I'm focusing on the most is it's a neutral field, East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium. You got Navy coming in literally nothing to lose. None of the kids on this team, I think, have even seen a ranked Navy team in their lifetime. So these kids are going in there with literally nothing to lose, chips on their shoulders. They see the 14-point, they're the 14-point underdog. This team is the fourth best scoring offense in the country at 44.8 points per game, and the fourth best rushing team in the nation with 275 yards on the ground. And just like Cottrell said, they've got 161 yards per game passing, so they do mix it up a little bit, unlike previous Navy teams. So I don't know. I think that their quarterback, Horvath, what's his first name? Blake Horvath. He's an athletic freak. I think he's going to do everything it takes. He's going to get his guys ready for this game. I think Navy definitely covers that 14-point spread, and I think Notre Dame might be looking down the barrel of loss 2 this week. But ultimately, I don't think Riley Leonard and Notre Dame will lose this game. But I think Bill has it right. I think it's a 3-point game. I think it's a field goal game.
I would love for us all to be right. I really would. I think they can hang in the game because I don't think Notre Dame's offense is anything special whatsoever. Navy can run the ball. They are a little bit more. They're not as less aerial, deficient as they usually are. But it's just always hard to not pick the academies in these games, but we'll see. I think it's gonna be a good game. I'm looking forward to watching it.
25 minutes till kickoff. 25 minutes
right.
till that game kicks off. So it'll be fun to watch.
Oh, number 20, Illinois Fighting Illini.
So beautiful.
At number 1 seed Oregon Ducks.
Number 1.
I think this game is probably tight for about a half. I think Oregon takes care of business here. Illinois came off a game. They played Michigan last week. Same old story for us. Too many turnovers. Stupid stuff. Illinois scrappy, though. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They run the ball well. They play pretty good defense. Altmaier has been great at quarterback, but I just don't think they have the firepower to stay in this game. Saw them play Penn State pretty close last year or earlier this season, excuse me. But Penn State's offense compared to Oregon's is very vanilla. Let's put it that way. Again, I think they play well for a half here. I think it's a good football game, but I think Oregon pulls away in the second half. I think they win comfortably.
So I guess it looks like Alex he's got some thoughts brewing there. So I'm sure he'll be telling you about how Oregon wins this game by 47 here shortly.
49.
But I'm rolling with Oregon in this game. I don't think this will be a particularly close one. I think the spread is really about where it should be. I see it being a 19, 20-point Oregon win. And I don't think it's ever relatively close. It's been fun to watch Illinois play earlier on in the year and the offense plan inspired things like that. But I don't know how good Illinois really is. And I'll say that, especially going up against Oregon, who is going to be more talented everywhere on the field. So
it's on the road. You got to fly 2 time zones, man.
That's right.
I'm rolling with Oregon. I think they win this game by three scores, and I don't think this is a more boring ranked v ranked matchup.
First
Agreed.
off, it's not boring, all right? Especially if you're an Oregon Duck fan, because the Ducks are going to score 56 points today.
Boring's a compliment to you. Stop feeling attacked all the time.
Because it is. It's a nonstop attack against you fuckers. Excuse my
It's
language.
not. He's saying it's going to be boring because you guys are going to win comfortably.
You
I
look
know
at
that.
ranked v ranked matchups, you
Correct.
expect them to be exciting and competitive. I don't think this
Yes,
is the case.
you do
Non-competitive
expect that.
football games are boring to me.
But when
Stop
number
playing
one,
the victim. Stop playing the victim all the time.
it's world against Oregon against the world, bro. We're
No,
always.
no one's ever said that.
I'm saying it.
Don't steal our
now.
moniker.
What's your moniker? Ohio State lost to Oregon? That should be your new moniker.
Ohio against the world.
Ohio against the world. Jeez. You're landlocked, bro. You can't even get to the world without going to other states.
Oh, brother.
Ohio is a terrible state. But
Thank you. My godfather lives there, so shout out to Cincinnati.
Regular season Warriors.
But no, today's gonna be great. I think Dylan Gabriel. I think this is a game where Dylan Gabriel, does his business in the first half. I really want to see Dante Moore in the second half. So I'd like to see them get up enough to see that happen. I was hoping to see him last week when they were up against Purdue 35-0, but they didn't end up making that change. So I would like this game to be a comfortable enough win to get Dante Moore some reps. Because the last thing, we've seen previous seasons get derailed for other teams when if a quarterback goes down, and Dante Moore hasn't seen the field really this season. So I'd like to get him some reps this game, but that's what I'd like. That's what I'm looking for. But I do think Oregon covers the spread of 22.5 and wins pretty comfortably.
Shocker.
I didn't say 48. I just said they cover the spread. I want to see Dante Moore in. That's not bad.
Next game, let's go. Another snooze fest, probably. As we've already mentioned, number 21 Missouri Tigers. They continue to fall down the rankings, and they're going to fall completely out of them after this week. Travel to Bama, Tuscaloosa. Coming off the loss to Tennessee, we've already mentioned their starting quarterback is not going to play. Their starting running back is not going to play. I think I saw earlier the spread's up to 18.5, somewhere around there. I'll tell you this. If Alabama loses this game, they're definitely out. I don't want to hear anything about them, but I think they're going to win pretty comfortably here. I don't think Missouri's going to have any kind of identity on offense whatsoever. I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball consistently. I think this game could actually get pretty ugly and get out of hand because I don't think Missouri's defense is that great either. So I think Jalen Milroe plays better today. I think the Bama offense looks a little bit better. Give me Bama, and I actually think Bama covers.
So just so you guys know, Brady Cook is going to attempt to play today. So I don't think that changes my pick.
That's nuts.
Just saying that he is going to try. I think he realizes after their one loss, they have to win today if they want to stay hopeful for the college football playoff. And with Noel out, Brady Cook's just like, let's do it. Because he's going to try to ramp up. They're going to make it before game time decision. So right during warmups is when they're going to decide. But he said he's going to try today. So I don't think that changes my outlook on the overall score of the game. But just wanted to throw that out there.
I mean, for him to be ruled basically doubtful on Tuesday is kind of a nuts turnaround that now you're expecting him to play. Even with that said, though, Brady Cook at what? I mean, at best, he'd have to be 50% going up against Alabama. I mean, at some point, they're probably going to knock him out. So I think even with that said, he plays, he doesn't play. I think he's going to be back there running for his life, and you got a Bama defense coming at you when you're on a high ankle sprain. I think that's a recipe for disaster. I like Bama big here. I think they cover the spread regardless of who's at quarterback, and I would not be surprised at all if you do not see Brady Cook under center by the start of the second half.
Yeah, what is it? The score of the spread is 15.5. Never bet against Alabama after a loss. That's my motto because Alabama always has a way of bouncing back and kind of taking care of business. So I think Missouri is extremely outmatched in this game. We've said this previously that we didn't know who Missouri really was, and I think we kind of got a glimpse of that after their last loss. And I don't think that they're able to come close to Alabama today. And Alabama is going to be showing some intensity. I think it's probably a 35-14 game if Brady Cook plays. I think it's a 35-3 game if he doesn't.
What happened to Bill?
I don't know. Bill's just chilling.
Maybe cat knocked off my damn camera.
Oh, the cat. So I have the dog. Now you got the cat.
At least I'm still here. You disappear.
That's true. I'm like a magician.
Bill's like a ghost this week. It's our Halloween
Yeah.
episode.
What's next?
Yeah, who we got next, Control? Ooh, Texas Vandy.
All right, so I'll say this.
Picking this game.
I think. Am I? I forget what I'm picking.
I
Yeah.
forget.
I think this is a close game. I think we've already seen it with Alabama. Other teams have gone down to Nashville this year. Vanderbilt is a good football team. They're solid. You're going to have to go in there and beat them in all aspects of the game. Like we already said, I'm not fully convinced what Texas is and what Texas isn't right now. I need to see them play against another really good football team. I need to see that offense, routinely move the football, and I need to see improvement out of them. If I'm being 100% honest, I think the spread on this game is ridiculous. I know Texas is coming off a loss, but coming off a loss and traveling isn't always easy. And I think going down to Vanderbilt, I think that place is going to be packed. I think that school has kind of really rallied around this football team. I think Vanderbilt's going to give them hell today. I really do. I think Texas probably pulls it out. I think it's a very close football game, though. So I'll take Texas to win, but I don't have them covering whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I am picking this game. So I won't say too much, but it's a game I am excited for. There's also a lot of low-key heated tension. I mean, Vanderbilt putting up the net in front of the visitor section for Texas for their game so they can't throw trash on the field. I mean, that's a nice little right jab. And then, of course, you got Texas coming off of that loss. Quinn Ewers trying to bounce back, didn't have the best game last week. And I'm excited to see Diego Pavia in another big-time matchup. Only has one interception thrown this season. He's literally the heart and soul of this Vanderbilt team, leading the team in rushing as well. It's 470 yards, averaging just under 4 yards a carry. Like I said, this Vanderbilt team is going to put it all on the line. This is the latest in the season they've ever been relevant, and I think the Vanderbilt fans are going to get behind that. I think Nick Saban saying there's no guaranteed win in the SEC when you travel except for Vanderbilt. I think that him saying that absolutely lit a fire under Vanderbilt's team, the community, the fans, and the school. And Vanderbilt's come to play today. And like I said, I think Quinn Ewers will have a nice bounce back game though. So without giving away too much, which I probably already have, my excitement, I'm picking this game later. Joshua, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so I'm rolling with Texas here, and I actually think Texas handles the game pretty comfy. Now, I don't know if they covered the whole 17.5-point spread, because I do think that's a bit egregious, especially on the road there. But honestly, I think Texas is going to win this game pretty comfortable. When you are coming off of a loss like that last week to Georgia, come in with a bit of a different mindset. And this game against Vanderbilt, it's a lot different this time around, because when Bama went to Vandy, it was way different, because no one was expecting them to win that football game. Like, it was hey, Bama just lost. Well, Bama just came off this big Georgia win. We all picked them in Superdog. However, I would never expected in a million years that Vanderbilt would actually pull out that game. It always felt like at some point Bama was just going to take the lead in that one and go from there. This week, they do not have that element of surprise anymore. Texas knows, hey, if we come with our B game, Vandy can beat us this week. If we don't show up, Vandy can beat us this week. They're at home. They roll at home. They're 5-2. This is not your mom's Vanderbilt team. So with that said, I still like Texas to win the football game. I just think it's only going to be like a 10-point win or so, maybe even a touchdown win. But I like Quinn and company to bounce back and take care of business on the road at Vandy.
All right. Last but not least, game of the week, in my opinion. Number 8, LSU. I just don't think they're the 8th best team in the country. Going to Texas A&M, Kyle Field, College Station. Number 14, Texas A&M Aggies. I'm not going to take too much time on this. I think Texas A&M wins the football game. Again, I think LSU's seeding or ranking is a little bit inflated for me. A&M, I think, is playing better sound football right now. Connor Wiggman is starting to look like the kid we all thought he was going to after coming back from the injury. A&M's just kind of floating below the radar. We talk about all these teams that are ranked ahead of them. They're all behind Texas A&M in the standings for the SEC. They're sitting up there at top. Nobody's giving them any love. Like I said, I think they're just floating under the radar. They're just beating football teams, handling their business, keeping their mouths shut. I love that attitude. I think they win again today. I think they beat LSU. And then I think, you really have to start talking about Texas A&M. I'll let Cottrell go first on this one because they've kind of been his babies from the get-go. So I like Texas A&M to win today, though.
I also like A&M to win today. I think, Bill brought up a good point with Wegman. He's been lights out since he's come back from injury, and the offense has been very consistent. The other thing with this A&M team is that they've been able to get after the quarterback as well. LSU, on the flip side, yes, they are ranked number 8. They tried their hardest to lose the game last week against Ole Miss. I think this LSU team is really I hate to call them overrated, but that's what they are right now. I think this is an overrated LSU team. Number 8 in the country is a bit of a stretch for me. I think a lot of things have had to happen for them to be there. I also think the SEC bias is definitely playing a part of them being where they are, and I get it. You beat a good Ole Miss team a couple weeks ago, but with that said, I think the jury is really still out on them. I like their receiver duo in Lacey and Anderson, but outside of that, I have too many question marks. So I think them going on the road, them going to College Station at night, I think it's just going to be too much for them. I think this is going to be an entertaining game, but ultimately I like A&M to pull it out here. I'll go like a 27-24 kind of football game.
That's about where I have it. I think that's a perfect score.
Where I'm looking at this is I'm looking at this a little bit differently. I'm looking at Texas A&M's defense and what that defense's weaknesses are. And obviously they lost to Notre Dame in the week 1, but since then the only real struggle they've had was against Arkansas. And what do Notre Dame and Arkansas have in common? They both have quarterbacks that can hurt you with their legs outside the pocket, make good runs. And what is LSU's strength? Passing the ball. Garrett Nussmeier is a great quarterback. However, he is not a mobile quarterback. If this is Jaden Daniels LSU wins this game. However, because Nussmeier is not as mobile as Jaden Daniels was last year, Texas A&M is going to eat in that backfield. I think they're going to get at least 5 sacks today against LSU's offensive line. I don't think this game is close, especially being in College Station. Like I said, with the LSU's lack of a mobile quarterback, I think A&M is going to, like I said, rack up 5 sacks today. I think A&M takes care of the game by 2 scores. 10 points is what I have the game as. I have this 31-21 Texas A&M.
Fair enough.
Let's get into pick'em.
Yes. Yeah, I'm in second.
All right. Well, similar like how we do every week. Bill, you want to go ahead and
Yeah, I'll go quick. I'll go quick because, like I said, we already gave these on Wednesday. Washington at Indiana minus 6.5. I'm sticking with the Hoosiers. I don't think Washington's a great football team. They're traveling. I think Indiana, even with the backup quarterback, is still going to be able to run a lot of that spread and then running the ball they want to do. So I like Indiana to cover. Kansas State minus 9.5 at home against Kansas. I know it's a rivalry game. Avery Johnson the last couple of weeks, that Kansas State team have kind of really bounced back and dialed themselves in. I like Kansas State to cover at home there. I think Kansas, the season's over. Love Jalen Daniels, but he can't do it all himself. And Kansas's defense has been kind of non-existent the last couple of weeks. So give me Kansas State at home. Number 1, Missouri at Alabama, 16.5. I'm taking Bama, like for all the reasons we talked about before. I don't know if Brady plays. If he doesn't play, he starts, doesn't finish. I don't think it matters. I really think that offense is going to struggle. I think Alabama will be able to move the ball against that Missouri defense. Give me the Tide. And for my super dog, Texas at Vanderbilt, 18.5. Give me Vanderbilt and 18.5. Not saying Texas wins or loses the football game by any means, but I think Vanderbilt is playing at home. A lot of emotion. They're playing well. They're ranked. I just think they're a solid football team. I don't think Texas is going to beat them by 3 touchdowns.
All right, so for me this week, I'm rolling with my first game. I like Utah minus 3.5 at Houston. I don't think Houston is that good of a football team. I know Utah is missing Cam Rising. He's done for the rest of the year, but I think Utah is going to be able to go into that game. Defense stifles that Houston offense, and then on the flip side of it, I don't think Utah has to do much. You run the football effectively, you're going to be perfectly fine to cover a 3.5 point spread. Second game, I like Kentucky minus 2.5 at home versus Auburn. I think Auburn is getting a lot of love right now because of the performance that they put on last week in a loss to Missouri, and I think Kentucky has kind of been falling off the radar there. A lot of people from the SEC. Kentucky's having a great season so far. Obviously, knocking off Ole Miss earlier. They had a really tight game against Georgia. I think this is a very slept on Kentucky Wildcats team. So I like them to cover the 2.5 there. Then the last game I like, give me the under 37.5 Northwestern at Iowa. I think Iowa's defense is going to be able to shut down Northwestern, and I don't see Northwestern giving up a ton of points to that Iowa offense. So I like the under 37.5 there. And then my last game, already cashed on it. I had Kennesaw State plus 25.5 versus Liberty for my super dog, and they won out and they won the football game outright. So my picks for the week, Alex, the floor is yours, my friend.
Man, I swear, y'all gotta get different picks for this show, man. I hate when y'all's games are over before the show even starts. It's not fun for me. Yeah, so I'm going to actually be jumping on the coattails of 3 visiting teams today. I know I was talking earlier about traveling teams, win-loss records, but that's not going to be an issue today. All right, first game up on the slate, Oklahoma State going to Baylor. I got Oklahoma State plus 7. Baylor hasn't won a home conference game in 2 years. Alan Bowman looked good last week coming in after he had a rough start in the second quarter. Third and fourth quarter, he looked like the old Alan Bowman. They're a very high-scoring offense, as is Baylor. I think this is a close-scoring game, high-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if the total is over 70 for this game. But I think Oklahoma State keeps it within 7. Next up, SMU going to Duke. 2 6-1 teams. SMU is an 11.5 point favorites. Duke hasn't scored over 26 points against a Power 4 opponent once this season. SMU is averaging over 40 points per game in their last 4 games. So I think SMU covers the 11.5 point spread against Duke. Duke comes back down to Malik Murphy, gets sacked at least 4 times today. SMU's offense is looking absolutely amazing right now. And like I said, they're my front runner for, or SMU and Miami were my picks for the ACC championship game, and that's not changed. And last but not least, before I get into Superdog, Kansas is traveling into Kansas State. As y'all know, I'm a huge Avery Johnson fan. I'm a huge Kansas State fan. And here's a little fun fact for you. Kansas has a 15-game losing streak in this series. That's all you need to know. But 4 of the last 5 losses this season have been by less than 1 possession. So I am actually picking Kansas plus 10 against Avery Johnson and Kansas State. This is a rivalry game. It's going to be close. Kansas, like I said, they are 1-5 or 1-6 this season. Before those losses are by 1 possession, so I do think this stays close. Like I said, the ability of being the quarterback for Kansas to kind of be mobile really is kind of a up in the air, a playmaker for them. So you really don't know what kind of game he's going to bring, so I think that game stays close. Now, for my super dog, Bill, I'm right on the same page with you. I think that 17.5 point or 18.5 point spread you got it at is exactly the right spot for Vanderbilt fans to be at, because they're going to be spamming that. Sorry, I can't talk this morning. End of the show. I've talked too much today. Vanderbilt plus 17.5. I even think they might have a chance to win this game. I think Quinn Ewers might have a little bit of an off game to start, which allows Vanderbilt to get the lead early. So Vanderbilt covering the 17.5 point spread. Vanderbilt putting up a net in front of the Texas fans section. That's big ball energy, and I'm supporting that. So Vanderbilt for the Superdog.
Is Bill here, or is he?
I'm
not
here.
Oh, okay.
He was waiting for me to stop talking.
Yeah. Listen the whole time. Let's pop Eliminator up there. Oh, there's my tombstone. I love it.
Michigan is in the ground.
In the ground. There's a couple teams that might go there today, too, depending on what happens. So,
Facts.
Bama would be one of them. I think Notre Dame realistically goes there if they lose again too. So this is going to get we're like, I mean, listen, we talked about the rankings reveal. That'll give us, a little bit of clarity on where these teams really stand in a week and a half. But still a lot of big football games coming up down the stretch. Some that we had pegged at the beginning of the year that are still going to matter, and others that we had, I don't think anybody had on their radar. So a lot of great football left. I just it sounds silly to look ahead because there's so much good football left. But I mean, for me, I cannot wait for college football playoff this year. Like I don't know if there's anything I'm looking forward to in the sports world more than the first round of the college football playoff this year. I don't know about you guys, but the fact that we're going to have home playoff games on college sites is just incredible. So, but as we sit here, I mean, this is pretty accurate. I think I don't think I have any kind of gripe. I think A&M's getting shafted a little bit on the mountain, but other than that, I think Alex is pretty spot on here. Is nobody in the helicopter this week?
No,
nobody's in the helicopter.
It should be Bama. Bama should be starting to get life flight. They meant the 2 losses in Missouri today, but
it's Bama.
But it's Bama, so I get it.
Yeah, but no, I mean,
some pretty sturdy boots on the fall.
I'm excited for this Navy Notre Dame kickoff to happen. Like I said, David versus Goliath. You got the big old Notre Dame and the small Navy logo over there in the upper left. Then, of course, we got Texas versus Vanderbilt. I think these images depict the matchups today to perfection. And obviously, we're cheering for some upsets. There's nothing better. Like, for example, my favorite time of year is March Madness because these teams that you've never even heard of are coming out and knocking off the big dogs and making names for themselves. 16 seeds, for the first time ever, beating that number 1 seed. This college football playoff is just going to open up a world of possibilities for college football seasons, and I'm excited for this to be the first season with 12 teams. I'm excited for the upsets this season. They've been fantastic. I want more to happen, and I hope today we get to see 1 or 2 more.
Did I hear you just say you want to do a college basketball show? That's what I heard.
That's not what I said. I said my favorite time of the year is March Madness because of all the crazy upsets and all that stuff. And this is kind of allowing college football to have that same kind of.
I thought you were saying you wanted me, Yoga Cho, to do a college basketball show.
Oh, I mean that's cool too. That's cool. I'm down.
That's what I heard. That one. I could have misheard. My equipment's been failing over here.
I also think Alex is giving Ole Miss a little extra love because there's little darlings there. But
look, y'all, I went by the rankings. Okay, Oregon at 1, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State. I went by the rankings.
Look, I hear you. I hear you. I'm just saying. Ole Miss should be. They should really be on life support because they are 1 more loss away from being in the dirt.
Yeah, you're right.
That's true. How are they not up in the chopper?
Because
they did not get to the chopper.
If they lose another game, have y'all ever seen Vertical Limit with Chris O'Donnell trying to go rescue his sister, Bill Paxton? Classic movie.
It's terrible. Okay. It's a rip off of Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger
is
way better.
But I like Bill Paxton, so I like Vertical Limit.
I love Bill Paxton. You're not wrong on that one.
So
R.I.P.
If Ole Miss loses again, they're gonna have that little the Inuit woman that was frozen. I'm gonna make that little emotion for them. So they got frozen on the mountain. They don't deserve to come down and get buried.
I don't think we can do that, but that's all right.
Why not?
I don't think that's a good idea. I'm just gonna put that out in the air now.
Copyright? Copyright?
It's just a lot of things. I don't think copyright would be further down the list of what I'd be worried about.
I see nothing wrong with what I said.
I know you don't, and that's why we're just not going to do it. See, because I think we're missing the ability with Ole Miss though. Because if they lose again, they're not going to chopper. They're going right in the graveyard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're gonna be frozen on the mountain. They're gonna be left there forever.
Yeah, we could put the tombstone further up the mountain. I guess we just create a little passage for them. Don't get them down.
That's funny.
They'll be like Mr. Green Boots. That's the guy. Do you know who Mr. Green Boots is?
No, but it's still making me laugh. I don't get it.
Mr. Green Boots is a guy. He died on Everest 15 years ago, but he's so far up. He's in a place where you can't like safely like get him out of. So his body's like frozen on like the side of the mountain, but the way he died, his feet like stick out from the snow, but but they use it as like a checkpoint because if you get to Mr. Green Boots, you only have like I think it's like 500 feet to go or something. So
that's crazy.
R.I.P. Mr. Green Boots.
Mr. Green Boots.
It's a real thing. You can Google it when we get off. But that's it for the show this week. We actually kind of finished on time.
I know, and Bill's
miraculously.
Bill's nowhere to be seen.
This is actually cats, bro.
Dang cats. Well, no, that was a great episode. I'm excited for the college football landscape today. It's going to be a great day of just chilling and
it is
watching football.
I'm pray we don't lose to Michigan State.
Random thought here, and this is very random because I know we're about to close the show soon. Why can't we get fantasy football with college football? Like, why doesn't that work?
I feel like I've seen that. No, you can just do like the DraftKings like daily lineup with college football players. That's all I've seen.
I feel like I think you'll see that sooner than later now with the way everything is kind of
There's too many dang players. Like, how big of a league do you have to be in for that to be like competitive?
NBA,
like,
I mean,
there's 120 teams. There's like so many quarterbacks.
It is, but
that's what makes it cool.
You'd have to have like a 30-person league for it to be like a competitive league.
Here's the problem. Here's the hurdle I think you would have to get over. Because I understand there's that many teams, but at the same time, like
you can go strictly FBS. You can, not FBS, Power 4.
Not even that. Well, see, that's what I think you would have to do. Because like I feel like you can't, like you couldn't like back in the day, like you couldn't have like everybody picking quarterbacks and then be like, oh, like BYU stinks, but I'm going to pick like Ty Detmer because he throws for 450 yards every game. And then have that weighted in against like the other teams. I think if you did Big Four though, I would be down for that. I would be fun. That would be fun. I would do it.
That'd be more manageable for sure than having every team available.
Yeah. You got to pick. Yeah, I'm in. Do it next year. I'm down. I'm in.
Let me send the email to ESPN real quick.
Yeah,
don't do that. Don't do that.
We'll make our own. We'll make our own.
You know, because they won't. They'll just steal it from you. They won't give you any credit or anything.
Wire to Wire presents college football, fantasy football, or college fantasy football.
Fantasy college football.
Yeah. Coast to Coast presents.
There it goes.
There it goes. See, ESPN's listening. It'll probably be on the website tomorrow.
Yep. But hey, we have this recorded, timestamped. We can sue.
True.
So,
it's true.
Get our ideas out there. We're good.
That's something to look forward to. I think it's something to look into. I'm actually surprised nobody does it, to be honest. Especially with like as many people. Like college football is huge.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can bet on college, I mean, why can't you do fantasy football in college? You know,
makes sense.
I mean, you can do that. You could bet on like individual players now. I think they have same game parlay stuff for college football now.
They do in some states, yeah.
They do, yeah. Not here.
But all right, gentlemen,
we're out.
It is that time.
It is. You can't see me, but I'm signing off. Everybody, have a great week. I hope your team wins. Thank you for tuning in again. For myself, College Cottrell, Mr. I Black Elmore. We appreciate all the views, the retweets, the shares, the comments, tuning in. Justin Louder, thank you again. Paul Gravis, saw you in there as well, my guy.
Gene, happy birthday.
Tuning in. Once again, Gene, happy birthday. Enjoy your day, sir. We're signing out. Kickoff time, boys. Enjoy your weekends.
See you next week.